Good morning, everybody. Today, my talk is going to discuss how we execute pre-approval and post-approval inspections in the field. What is the decision-making process behind this approval of pre and post-approval inspections? And I will also discuss some of the common pitfalls that we find at the site. So these are my learning objectives, and I just discussed, so I'm going to skip the outline also. So you saw in Mahesh's slide that we do team-based integrated assessment. So whenever we get new or generic drug application, we start the assessment as soon as the application hits our door. We have different expertise on the team, which includes drug substance, drug product, biopharm, as he discussed. And as you can see, the three circles, process, facility, and microbiology, now they are integrated. So one assessor makes an assessment on all three components of this assessment. And we evaluate we try to evaluate in a comprehensive way. We take into consideration the product risk, facility risk, and process risk. And for facility, we do depend on our colleagues from Office of Surveillance in terms of facility experience, and we'll take a look at the facility history ourselves and make a comprehensive assessment and make a decision whether a pre-approval or a post-approval inspection is needed before or after the approval of the application. So what are some of the common issues that we find pre-inspection, like before we even do the inspection, right? So as soon as the application comes in our door, we start evaluating. We look at the facility information in 356H form that you submitted to us, and we sometimes see some discrepancies. You have facility listed in other modules, but those facilities are missing from 356H form. So that is like a by far first reason that we may be communicating with you in the TCIR, which is a timely communication information request. So make sure that you provide us the complete information of the facility. And sometimes we see that the facility was listed in DMF as a drug testing facility, but that facility is missing from the 356H form. So then we have to really get back to you and get that information. So that just includes some more time. And this all information is needed at the beginning so that we can make an evaluation and make an assessment whether we need a pre-approval inspection. And I'll go over pre and post-approval inspection process in a little bit. Then we also find sometimes based on the process and product and information that you've submitted that maybe you're not capable of performing this at commercial scale. This is the first time that you're submitting. So we do identify those issues even before we do inspection. And data integrity is a little bit hard to evaluate from application. However, we do see occasionally that some information is too good to be true. You might have heard about that, right? So we do take a look at that. What are some of the communications that we do with you guys? So first one, as I mentioned, TCIR, that happens before even DRL or discipline review letter, which is a mid-cycle review for NDAs and DRL for ANDAs. So that happens right at beginning or right around filing time or right after filing time. You are requested to provide us the information back in a timely manner. The final action takes place near the goal date, which is PDUFA or GDUFA based on what kind of applications you are submitting. So there are a few types of inspections that we all already went through. It's spelled out in concept of operations that my Dr. Kopcha just mentioned in his talk. So my talk is going to focus on pre and post-approval inspections, which is product specific. And as the word suggests, pre-approval is before the application is approved. Post-approval happens after the application is approved. And there are reasons behind recommending a pre or post-approval inspection. There are other types of inspection that are not part of my talk, but you will hear more about it during the conference, which are surveillance, routine type of inspections, and directed inspection, which is in response to some event or some informant that we have knowledge about. So when do we recommend a pre-approval inspection, right? I told you about decision-making process that we go through for pre-approval inspection. So as you heard in previous session and previous talk, we are moving away from the time cycle, like time since last inspection. We are not considering that as a factor in making our decision process. We used to have if the product was new molecular entity or generic, first generic, or it was NTI drug, we would go ahead and do inspection, but we are moving away from that too. So our now focus is based on more product and process risk, and we try to look at whether the firm is capable of manufacturing that drug product. Is it first time that you are filing that application with us in terms of new dosage form? So you might have a lot of sterile applications with us, but if you are submitting a non-sterile dosage form, we want to look at if it is a new manufacturing technique, right? So we would come out, we would recommend an inspection in those cases. Then if the establishment is named first time in application, so you are the first applicant for our application, and substantially different or complex manufacturing. So since our office is responsible evaluating product, the process as well as the facility part, OPMA does both the evaluation. We do look at whether this method is completely new, whether we have experience or whether we feel that you have experience. We do look at your previous EIR reports, inspection reports, and we take a look at what kind of instruments or equipments the investigator has looked in the past. If not, they are not covered, we might recommend a PAI. And then overall quality system, we have some concerns about your quality system. We don't really have a confidence that you can manufacture this new product that you are submitting. We might recommend a PAI. So these are some of the risk-based approaches. These are more qualitative right now. We are trying to make it more quantitative. That's something to come in future. But right now we are more qualitative on this. And as I said, these are all product-specific inspection. So when we do a PAI, something to keep in mind for you as well as us. Product is not approved. You do not have a big history of that product. We are coming to look at your product development, whether you can implement the promises that you do in an application, whether you can scale up. So our focus is on your product development data, on your batch records that you have for executed batches as well as the master batch records that you are supposed to be implementing when you commercialize the product. So our emphasis is on more on that. We do look at process validation protocol. We understand that process validation doesn't have to be completed before the approval happens, even for new or generic drug application. And I'm talking about small molecules here, right? For sterile product, of course, the requirement of sterility assurance is different. But generally, we feel that stage 2 of the process validation, PPQ, may not have been completed, but at least stage 1 should have been completed. Process design, equipment qualification, those needs to be completed, and we do take a look at that. So PAI program, as I said, it's a product-specific inspection. It covers all types of applications, BLAs, NDAs, ANDAs, supplements. My examples are typically for small molecules, but we have a case study coming up for large molecule also. And we cover all manufacturing site. As long as the manufacturing site is on this planet, we can go out and inspect you. So all testing facilities are included. All the stability facilities are also included. PAI program is as per compliance program, and as Mahesh mentioned, it was just, we finalized it in September. Here I've given this the name of the compliance program. You can go ahead and read. It gives you what are the 3 primary objectives of prior approval inspection, right? It's a little bit different than surveillance inspection where we do system-based inspection. Here we focus more on these 3 objectives when we come for inspection. Of course, all the systems are covered underneath this, so it's not that it's completely different. We do combine PAI with surveillance inspection many a times because we are going out to a facility, why not cover if it meets those requirements. So first objective that, and I will be going over these 3 objectives, but just it's very logical when we are going on pre-approval, right? We want to make sure that you are ready for commercial manufacturing. That's our objective number 1. If we cannot find that you are ready for commercial manufacturing, we will withhold that application. We want to make sure that what you are submitting it to us in application is something that you are really doing at the site. So conformance to application, like we want to make sure that that happens. And data integrity, we are hearing a lot more about data integrity, and you may be hearing in a lot of other conferences. So that's data authenticity that we want to verify, and we verify by raw data in that. So this is a little complex figure, and my supervisor was not very keen on putting this together because it's a little complex, but I'm going to quickly walk through because this gives you an overview of how we do inspection and what we do after inspection. And this diagram comes from ConOps, concept of operation, but I have modified because now we are OPMA and we do things a little bit differently, right? So as soon as the ANDA submission comes, and I'm going to use the cursor here, ANDA or NDA submission comes, we start evaluating and we take a look at the risk assessment, IQA team, which looks at process, product, biopharm issues, as well as we also look at manufacturing, process and facility, microbiology. We make a decision whether we want to go through a PAI, which is whether prior approval inspection is necessary before we can approve the product. Then it goes through this yes cycle. And once we have that decision made, we share our decision making the risk with the Office of Regulatory Affairs, who actually go out and do inspection. We from review side also participate on inspection as SME, which is subject matter expert. We conduct inspection, and what happens on inspection, I'll tell you in the next slide. Once we finish the inspection, we write EIR, which is Establishment Inspection Report. That is written by all the participants of the inspection. So if we are SME, we also contribute to the EIR report. Once that EIR report is written and once the inspection happens, the investigator lets you know what is the outcome of inspection, whether we are going towards NAI, which is no action indicated, VAI, which is voluntary action indicated, or OAI, which is official action indicated. So we will let you know when we are out there. Also, the ORA lets us know what is their recommendation, and then we evaluate your, you have ability to respond within 15 days for any inspection, whether it's pre-approval or surveillance or post-approval, right? So you can respond to our deficiencies or our concerns that you see on your 483 form, or whether we might have talked to you verbally. Once you respond to that, then we take a look at everything, EIR, your response 483, your previous history, and we can assess that. We also have a capability of asking for further information if we had done pre-approval inspection. It's called RAI, which is request for additional information. So all that is evaluated, and we take a decision on whether we want to approve your facility or we want to withhold that application because your facility is not ready for commercial manufacturing or data integrity problems or anything. So that decision goes to this IQA team, and we make that decision. If the inspection, we have recommended that there is no PAI needed, we go through normal review route, which is we issue IR or DRL or CR. And I like to use acronyms because I have explained them earlier, and then that saves a lot of time, right? You have to respond within certain time frame to our deficiencies. If you do not, it can become a complete response. And then we review your responses and make a decision. So when we are out at your facility, what do we do, right? So it happens in 3 stages, but they are like not distinct stages. So we show up at your facility. It's a domestic facility. We will show up as an uninvited guest. And believe it or not, you don't like to see us. I have seen that when we come in your facility, all the computer screen changes that, oh, FDA investigators are here. So we will show our credentials. We would like to do this at foreign facilities also, but just because of some logistic issues, we cannot do all the time because of visa issues and all that. But we are trying to do as much as possible unannounced in some foreign countries. We see a lot of issues coming up from those. We issue notice of inspection, which is a form 482. If it is domestic, we display our credentials and we begin our inspection. We will explain you purpose that we are here for pre-approval inspection or post-approval inspection, what is the scope of our inspection, but we may not be able to tell you everything because we might expand. Sometimes pre-approval can expand into surveillance inspection if we find some of the concerns at your facility. During conduct phase, we'll tour your facility, we'll look at your operations. We will make observations in our notebooks, as well as at the end of each day, we will have a wrap-up meeting with you guys. And in that, we will discuss what issues we found during the inspection. So nothing should be surprised when we are wrapping up the inspection at the end of whatever time period that we are there in your facility. At the end, we will summarize our inspection findings, we'll discuss with you, we'll give you a written 483, which is a hard copy, signed by investigator, entire inspection team. And you will have a chance to discuss your 483 items, and they shouldn't be a surprise. Like we found something on day 1 and we did not tell you until day 5. That's not going to happen. We will tell you on day 1 what we found, and you have opportunity of taking corrective action and let us know. So it may be or may not be a 483 item, right? And we can write 483 items even on pre-approval inspection. If it is not surveillance, we still have a capability of writing, even if you do not have a marketed product until then. We will issue 484 if we collected samples during inspection. So that is another form. And as I told you, you have an ability to respond to us within 15 days. So 3 objectives, as I quickly mentioned. First thing is we want to make sure that you are ready for commercial manufacturing. When we are coming up for pre-approval inspection, we really want to make sure that you have equipments in place. You have all the procedures in place. Sometimes we come at your facility and find that, oh, you have ordered the equipment. It's not even here. So it's a big problem, right? We want to see the qualification of equipment. We want to see the cleaning procedures in place, cleaning protocols in place. So these are some of the sub-objectives, and I'm not going to read through, but they are like self-explanatory. We want to see your production and process control procedures. How would you manage your out of investigation, all that. And second one is conformance to application, that whatever you have put in application is really there at your site and the data is there. The third objective is data integrity. All these topics by itself are big topic of discussion, right? So I'm just touching briefly here. We will look at your raw data. We will look at your raw chromatograms. And please make sure that everything is present at your facility. Sometimes we come at your facility and you say, oh, this is done at our another facility and all the raw data is there present at another facility. So that becomes a real big problem because now we have to really expand our inspection and inspect the other facility. So we want to make sure that whatever data you have generated at, for that application are at the site. Some of the useful documents that we cover, as I told you, product development report is like really great resource for us to look through, where we understand how you have developed and with what you are going to commit to do in future. Batch records is another thing that we look at it. Reprocessing, reworking, your yield reconciliation, and stage 1 of process validation. We understand that stage 2, stage 3 hasn't been done until the product is approved, right? But when we look at the protocol, we want to look at that you have a process verification plan, continuous plan at least in place. Most of the inspections that I have done, I've not seen that in your report. So that's why it's a big reminder. And this guidance hasn't been new. It has been since 2011. So please take a look at that guidance and make sure that you have that. So what is our role I described? We conduct PAI as per the objectives. We let you know where we are going with that inspection. But what is your role? You can really do a big deal of things. Give us documents in a timely way, a timely manner, right? We ask for a document on day 1, and sometimes we don't get the document back until day 5. It becomes a big problem. We have limited time, and we really have to then expand our inspection. And believe me, you don't want us to be there for longer time at your facility. We will find something. So make sure that you give us in a timely way. And all the manufacturing facilities, testing facilities, which are DMF facilities, drug substance testing facility, if it is used for drug substance control, that needs to be there in application in 356H form. If they are missing, it creates a lot of back and forth with us. And then once you say that you submit an application, we assume that you are ready for inspection. Sometimes in past, like one applicant that we called, and they said, oh, we are failing our F2 value, we are not going to be ready, so please don't come to our facility. So that's something we don't want. When you are submitting an application, you should be ready with for inspection. So I'll quickly go through post-approval inspection because it's very similar to pre-approval inspection. A little bit principle is different because we do inspection after the application is approved, right? So we want to see how your product is doing in market space. And it's not just for fun purpose. There are some risk factors that we had identified even prior to approval, but we felt that, okay, we can defer this until the post-approval stage once the application is approved. We do take into consideration life cycle comments, or we do take your post-approval commitments into consideration when we are recommending a post-approval inspection. And sometimes we just don't have that much time before pre-approval can happen and the application can be approved. So we defer it to post-approval inspection. So it's again application specific. We go out after application is approved and we focus on that particular application. So as you can imagine, the process validation report becomes very important when we go on post-approval inspections. And sometimes, so this is the flow chart again for the post-approval inspection. Don't go through each and everything because it's very similar to pre-approval inspection that I just said. But if we find some concerns at the facility after post-approval inspection, since it's already in the market, we then let Office of Compliance know about it because now we have issues with marketed product, right? And they can take regulatory action. So if you see the red box, that's where we differ from pre-approval. And then if we don't find anything, we are happy with your product, then we will inform the Office of Surveillance and they will be keeping your facility under routine monitoring. We will let our other colleagues know from post-approval review area also and share our life cycle comments with them. So some historical trend I wanted to give you, like how many inspections we do. You can, this graph is not really legible, but you can, it's not to get you the exact number, but we do in tens of thousands every year inspections. And domestic by far are more as compared to foreign. Foreign is the pink line in the first graph. Domestic is the blue line. Foreign we are picking up. We are sending our investigators. We have our offices in some foreign country, India, China, Latin America. We have offices, so we can quickly send our investigators there if we find that because sometimes pre-approval inspection, since we are doing it in conjunction with application, sometimes during review we find some more concerns that we want to do inspection, and we identified late in the cycle, right? So still we can do inspection. So that's just to give you a brief. And then we classify, as I said, NAI, VAI, OAI. Over the years, we have seen that NAI, VAI pretty much stays stable. OAI also stays stable. So really firms, we feel that are not improving as much as we would like with all the quality guidance in place. So really, we want to make sure that's the second graph on the right. Green and yellow are VAI and NAI, and the red dots are OAI. So what are our top 3 citations that we have seen in FDA? From all the, and this is covering all the inspections historically from 2015 to 2018 that one of my colleagues put together. So it's still the top one of the reasons is inadequate quality unit oversight. It becomes a big problem. We go to the firm and we find that quality unit is not performing the work they are supposed to do. The OOTs are being invalidated, unnecessary. Then there are some laboratory controls missing. Procedures are not in place. The quality control units are not up to the speed. So that's like our number, one of the top 3 reasons, that top 3 citations that you will see in 483. And it has stayed constant. It is not decreasing, which is alarming. The second one that we are seeing is equipment problems. So equipment is garnering more attention, like qualification is missing when we come for inspection. The requalification programs are not in place. The audit trails are not in place. So we see all kinds of problem. And then calibration of instrument has not been done as per the SOPs that you already have at your facility. So that's not followed. So this is also garnering more attention, and we see the trend increasing in 2018 as compared to some other years. Another factor is production and process control, and we see that there are some control procedures not in place. However, we saw that downward trend in 2018, so you are really improving in documentation and control procedures for the production. So I know there are 2 case studies, so I'm going to quickly go through because I'm like getting over my time. So this is a modified release tablet. When we looked at the review, we saw that it is a laser drill tablet. Laser hole depth was not properly maintained. So we had some other concerns from the application, and we recommended a PAI, prior approval inspection. On inspection, we saw that laser power was not being monitored or controlled. That was a big problem. We discussed with the firm addressed that situation, and we could approve this application. In the second application, it didn't go that well. The firm had poor history, and it was a new product. So we went for inspection. We saw that the testing was done in adjacent facility, not at that facility, and there were a lot of problems with all the testing. So we went there. We did take a look at the failures, and it was all kind of mess as listed here. So that application went through a complete response. We couldn't approve that application. So what can you do at your facility, right? Have a robust PQS. We just heard about PQS, very important being for Q12, but not only for Q12, it's important for all kinds of inspections. And review your events, trends, and make the trend of OOTs, and have adequate methods to control raw data. I'm not going to touch base, but NIPP is a new protocol that we are implementing. We have already implemented for sterile products. We are going through non-sterile right now. We are in the writing phase. It's a more structured data to collect the information on inspection. So investigator will collect inspection reports based on this NIPP protocol, and more to come on this. So just to summarize, pre and post approval are product specific, and make sure that you understand this slide because my challenge questions are based on this slide. So what are the 3 objectives? I didn't make the questions as easy as some of the other speakers. So my questions are really hard. So what are the 3 objectives of pre-approval? Anybody quickly? Very good. So readiness for commercial, conformance, and data integrity. And focus area for a post-approval, I already clicked. So it's a product specific, it happens after approval. So with that, I'd like to thank these people, and thank you all.